All right, time to lock and load. Let's talk about Planet Death, issue number 1. So our story starts out 1,321 days in hyperspace. We meet our main character, Corporal Scott, who was awakened from a cryo sleep and thrusted in to this war. He gets suited up, ends up on a drop ship, ends up meeting this guy named Riley, who is from Nebraska, and they kind of bond over this, I guess. And all we really know about what's going on is they want to go home, but they got to destroy the weapon first. So Scott, Riley, and these other soldiers are in this dropship. They end up basically going into battle where Riley starts to freak out on the ship. Scott tries to basically, calm him down. He's like, look, Riley, we're going to make it home. We're going to make it home. This is the hardest part. They drop out of the ship in a hail of gunfire. Unfortunately, not all the soldiers end up making it through this, but Riley and Scott end up touching down on the planet. Scott goes to look for Riley. Riley is kneeling down, laughing, cackling. He's like, this will be better. He puts a gun to his head and pulls the trigger. Eventually, Scott ends up actually meeting up with a group of soldiers and regroups with them. And he's like, who's in charge here? And they're like, oh, Tyler's in charge. And this big hulking alien shows up and kills Tyler. And Tyler is no longer in charge. Just saying. So this horde of aliens starts to attack the soldiers, and Scott barely makes it out alive. Unfortunately, Scott is actually knocked unconscious in the blast. And we get this slight little snippet of his wife and child when he was supposedly, I'm guessing, on Earth. And his suit ends up giving him a jolt of adrenaline, waking him up. And he's like, I need to get home. I need to get home, destroy the weapon, and get home. And he ends up in this big scene with all these spaceships firing left and right, not really knowing what to do. He's like, I am going to get home if it's the last thing I do. All right, so let's take a look at the internal artwork for this series. I just gotta say, one plus of this book, the artwork is actually really, really good. They do use some panels, that reuse some panels in this a little bit here and there, reuse some artwork, but hey, that's not a terrible thing. Man, the artwork in this is really good, especially when we get into more of like the action scenes, like all the little details with like the ship and stuff. Like, I was really amazed and like just gobsmacked, like just looking at the panels and stuff. It's just beautiful, and they do actually do a very good job of like showing characters' emotions and stuff like that, and just the brutality of war, which is very well done, I feel like, in my opinion. Like they knock it out of the park in that aspect for sure. I love all the different different monsters or aliens they have in this. I love all the little and all the guys' suits and stuff, and all the bright colors and the laser beams and stuff. It's right up my alley, and like I'm all here for it. Like, I love a good like war story, and this is definitely hits it out of the park. I really like the fact that they don't translate the alien speech. I think that's the coolest thing ever. So I just have to say, I was actually really looking forward to reading Planet Death after reviewing issue 0. I am very much in the middle of the road, I feel like, with this. I did enjoy what I read, but there's things I really didn't truly care about this. Things I really liked about it, the artwork and the pacing was very good. I really liked the fact that they didn't shy away from the depiction of war and how horrible it can be to people's psyche, and like, some people couldn't hack it, so they eventually, weren't around anymore. And that was really interesting to see, and how like soldiers seem to be somewhat disposable, because they seem to have a big old factory up in outer space with a bunch of them in it in cryosleep. Where I feel like this really truly falls flat is we don't get a lot of context story-wise. Now, I hope that improves moving forward, because I believe this is only like a 5-issue series. If you count issue 0, I don't know if it's like a 4-issue and then there's issue 0, or if it's going to be issue 5 at the end. Who knows? But we don't get a lot of context for our main character, Colonel Scott. Like, we only get that he wants to go home, and he does have a family, but that's about it. And we don't know anything about this weapon that they all have to destroy. So there is that, which kind of like really, I feel like dampened my enjoyment of the story, because like there doesn't seem to be a lot of meat on this proverbial bone, to say the least. Because this book has a big whole section in the back dedicated to another like IP or comic book that Bad Idea is trying to pimp out instead. And I feel like they could have used that space and room in this comic book to add more to this story and flesh out this story. Because like we are really left not knowing anything at the end of this. But yeah, it's not a bad read. I did enjoy it some, and I hope it definitely picks up with issue 2 moving forward. If not, this might end up being a dud of a series, to say the least. I know there's a lot of hype around it at the moment, but I don't know if that hype is necessarily justified in the ends means. Just saying, But I would love to hear your thoughts down below. Comment, like, subscribe. I will talk to you, Mike, and I'll catch you guys on the next video.